She heard laughter as she walked down the aisle because she was fat, but what she carried in her hands changed everything. And no, it wasn't a bouquet of flowers. The church hall was packed. 200 people sat on dark wooden benches, all with their eyes fixed on the main door. The organ played the classic wedding march, the one everyone knows. Sunlight streamed in through the stained glass windows, creating splashes of color on the stone floor. Sarah Miller was standing in the doorway, 28 years. Simple navy blue dress, good fabric, but nothing fancy. Brown hair tied in a low bun, hands holding a black leather briefcase. She took the first step, and someone laughed. It wasn't a discreet laugh. It was loud, clear, coming from the third row on the left. Then another, and another one. Like falling dominoes, laughter began to spread throughout the room. Sarah was plus size. It always was. And at that moment, walking alone towards the altar in a wedding ceremony that wasn't hers, every kilo of her body seemed to weigh a ton under the judgmental eyes. "Are you sure Claire asked her to be her bridesmaid?" A voice whispered too loudly from the fifth row. "Poor bride. She'll look even thinner in comparison," someone else replied, not caring that Sarah was less than 5 meters away. The pianist hesitated. His fingers trembled on the keys. Even the music seemed self-conscious. But Sarah kept walking. Step after step, back straight, chin up. Her eyes never left the altar. He didn't look around. He didn't speed up the pace. Every movement calculated, every breath controlled. Because Sarah Miller had a secret. 6 months ago, she was sitting in a cheap cafe near the university where she studied law. 3rd year, full scholarship. He worked nights in a supermarket to pay rent. I slept 5 hours a day. At that cafe, she met Claire Bennett. Claire was everything Sarah wasn't. Slim, blonde, rich, traditional Boston family, father who owns a hotel chain, mother who organizes charitable events. Claire never had to work a day in her life, but she loved to say that she valued personal effort. They became friends. Or at least that's what Sarah thought. Claire was kind. He always invited Sarah to parties. He introduced her to important people. She said things like, "You are so inspiring. You achieve everything on your own despite difficulties." Sarah never liked the way Claire paused before difficulties, as if he was choosing not to say another word, a worse word, but she needed that friendship. Claire opened doors, recommended Sarah for internships. He introduced her to influential lawyers. Until 3 months ago, Sarah found the message group. It was on Claire's cell phone. Accident. Claire asked Sarah to get her phone from her bag while they were at a restaurant. The screen was unlocked. A notification appeared. Operation Amiga Gorda. Sarah didn't want to read it, but his fingers were already touching the screen. Hundreds of messages. Claire and her friends, all laughing, making bets. How long until Sarah realizes we're only friends with her because she makes us look good in photos? "My fiancé loves it when I go out with her. He says I come back looking like a model. And the worst of all, I'm going to ask her to be my bridesmaid. Imagine the photos. I'm going to look like a goddess by her side." Sarah returned the cell phone. I didn't say anything, smiled. He continued having dinner, and he started planning. Now, walking down the aisle of that church, she felt the weight of the leather briefcase in her hands. Inside it, documents, contracts, message printouts, evidence. Because it turns out that Sarah Miller wasn't just a hard-working law student. She was the best in the class, intern at Boston's most respected law firm. And in the last few weeks, she had been investigating something about the Bennett family, something Claire never imagined anyone would discover. Sarah arrived at the altar. The groom, Thomas, looked at her with a mixture of pity and discomfort. Claire was radiant in her expensive white dress, perfect smile, but her eyes said something else. "Thank you for making me look better." The priest cleared his throat, about to begin the ceremony. Sarah turned to face the guests. 200 people. Absolute silence now. She opened the folder. "Before we begin," Sarah said, her voice calm and clear echoing off the stone walls, "I would like to share a few words about the bride." Claire froze. Thomas frowned. Sarah smiled. And this time, it wasn't the good friend's smile. It was the smile of someone who had waited a long time for this moment. Words that I'm sure everyone here will find revealing. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. Because what Sarah was about to reveal wasn't just about Claire. It was about everything the Bennett family. And he was going to destroy that marriage before it even started. Claire took a step forward. Her wedding dress cost $15,000. Silk imported from Italy. Each bead is hand-embroidered. "Sarah, darling." Her voice was as sweet as poison. "I think you're confused. Bridesmaids do not give speeches before the ceremony." Nervous laughter echoed throughout the room. Some people were already picking up their cell phones. Others exchanged uncomfortable glances. Sarah didn't move. Her fingers remained firm on the leather briefcase. "I'm not confused, Claire. I'm being clear for the first time since we met. Thomas, the groom, took a step toward Sarah. He was tall, broad-shouldered, perfectly fitted gray suit. He worked at his father's bank. He never had to compete for anything in his life. "Look, I don't know what kind of attention you're looking for, but this is ridiculous," he said, his deep voice trying to sound authoritative. "You can leave voluntarily, or I will call security." Sarah turned her head slowly towards him. His eyes were two sharp blades. "Security? Interesting you mentioned that, Thomas. Why the security company your father hired to protect Bennett Hotels? She has a very questionable background." Thomas's face lost color. Claire grabbed his arm. "Don't pay attention to her. She is clearly desperate for prominence. It's always been like this." "Desperate?" Sarah repeated the word slowly, savoring each syllable. "It's funny you use that term, because that's exactly what you wrote in the Operação Amiga Gorda group, wasn't it?" Absolute silence. You could hear the 200 people breathing, the creaking of a wooden bench, the wind blowing through the stained glass windows. Claire tried to laugh, but the sound came out broken. "I don't know what you're talking about." Sarah took her cell phone out of her pocket. He tapped the screen a few times. He turned to the crowd. On the large screen of the projector that was prepared to show photos of the couple, messages now appeared. "Claire Bennett, 2347. Sarah is perfect. The fatter she gets, the better I look in photos. Madison Foster, 11:49 p.m. Jeannie, I should do this too. Where do you find these desperate friends? Claire Bennett, 11:52 p.m. It's easy. Look for the lonely ones, the ones who need approval. The fat ones are always so grateful." The hall erupted in murmurs. People got up. Mothers covered their mouths with their hands. Claire's father, a 60-year-old man with flawless gray hair, turned red as a tomato. "Turn it off," Claire shouted, running towards the projector. But Sarah had already advanced to the next slide. More messages. Worse. Much worse. "Claire Bennett, I'm going to ask her to be my bridesmaid. Imagine the contrast. I'm going to look like a goddess walking with her by my side. Olivia Chen, you are diabolical. Ha 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 ha, I love it. Claire Bennett, Thomas loves it when I go out with her. He says when I come home, he thinks I'm even hotter." Thomas recoiled as if he had been punched. "Claire, you said that?" "No, I mean, it was taken out of context." Claire turned to the crowd, tears flowing, smearing her expensive makeup. "You don't understand. It was just a joke between friends." "Just kidding," Sarah repeated, voice echoing through the church. 347 messages over 6 months is a long joke, Claire. Claire's mother stood up, light pink dress, pearl necklace around her neck. "My daughter would never do something like that. This girl clearly edited these messages." "Sue her," Sarah smiled, and it was a dangerous smile. "Sue? What a fantastic idea, Mrs. Bennett. Since we're talking about legal issues." She opened the leather briefcase. He took out a thick envelope. Letterhead. Official seal. "I work at Hartman and Associates. Maybe you know. It is the largest law firm in Massachusetts." Sarah paused, looking directly at Claire's father. "And the last few weeks, while Claire thought I was busy being her fat, pathetic friend, I was doing something interesting." Claire's father turned pale. He knew. I already knew what was coming. "I was investigating the Bennett family." The hall exploded again, voices overlapping. Thomas grabbed Claire's arm. The priest tried to calm the people. Nobody listened. Sarah continued, voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "I discovered something fascinating. Bennett Hotel Corporation has a registered subsidiary in the Cayman Islands. Ghost company. Used to launder money from European investors. Millions of dollars. Undeclared taxes. Forged documents." Claire's father stepped forward. "You have no proof of that." Sarah held up the envelope. "I have copies of all transactions for the last 5 years. Contracts signed by you personally. Bank transfers. Witnesses willing to speak." She paused, letting the tension build. "Esser. And yesterday afternoon I turned all of this over to the Department of Justice." The man staggered. Literally. He held on to the nearest bench so he wouldn't fall. Claire let out a scream. It wasn't a scream of rage. It was pure panic. "You did what?" "I did my job," Sarah replied calmly. "Lawyers report crimes. It is our ethical obligation." Thomas let go of Claire's arm as if she was burning. "Your father? Are you saying that your father is a criminal?" "No," Claire shouted, turning to him, grabbing the lapels of his suit. "She's lying. She made it all up because she's a bitter fat woman who can't stand seeing people happy." Sarah closed her eyes for a second. When it opened, there was something different about them. It was no longer calm. It was fire. "Bitter fat lady," she repeated softly. Then he raised his voice. "You know what's funny, Claire? I spent 6 months believing you were my friend, defending you when other people said you were shallow, ignoring the nasty comments, convincing myself that I was being too sensitive." Sarah took a step towards Claire, then another. "But you were never my friend. I was an accessory, a tool, something you used to feel better about yourself." Claire's tears were real now, not remorse, of despair. Sarah, please. You don't understand. I really liked you. Lie. The word fell like a sentence. Sarah turned to the crowd. Most of you laughed at me when I came in here. Some are still laughing inside. They think I'm being dramatic, that I'm exaggerating, that it's not that serious. She lifted another document from the folder. But while you were laughing, I discovered that the security company hired by the Bennetts for their hotels has 3 racial discrimination lawsuits, that Claire fired employees who gained weight after pregnancy, that Thomas harassed interns at his father's bank and the family paid out-of-court settlements to keep quiet. Thomas tried to speak, but no sound came out. You thought I was just the fat, desperate girl. Sarah smiled coldly. But I'm a lawyer, and lawyers know how to find secrets. Claire's father finally found his voice. You just committed professional suicide. No one in Boston will hire you after that. Sarah tilted her head. And even? Because my boss, Mr. Hartman, was in the audience when I reported you. He found my investigation exemplary. I actually got a promotion yesterday, lie. But they didn't need to know that yet. What no one there knew was that Sarah had a second bomb to drop, and this one would hurt even more, because there was someone else in that church who had a dirty secret, and Sarah was about to expose everything. Sarah put the documents back in her folder. The hall was in complete chaos, people screaming, Claire crying on Thomas's shoulder, who pushed her away as if she were radioactive, her father arguing with lawyers on his cell phone, but Sarah was calm, dangerously calm. Why that? That was just the beginning. She started walking towards the exit, firm steps, head up, the same posture as when he entered, but now no one was laughing. Everyone looked on with a mixture of shock, fear, and something akin to respect. Sarah! Claire ran after her, tripping over her wedding dress. You can't do this! You will destroy my family! Sarah stopped. It turned slowly. His eyes met Claire's. I didn't destroy your family, Claire. You did this alone. I just turned on the light. Claire fell to her knees, literally, the $15,000 dress dragging on the cold stone floor. Please, I'm sorry. I was horrible to you, I know, but please, don't do this. Sarah felt something move in her chest. For a second, just a second, she almost felt sorry. But then he remembered. 3 months ago, Sarah was in the college library, 3 in the morning, studying for final exams, mug of cold coffee next to notebook, eyes burning with tiredness. She needed to go to the bathroom. He left his cell phone on the table. Error. When he returned 5 minutes later, Claire was there, sitting in Sarah's chair, going through her cell phone. Oops, Claire said, smiling innocently. I thought it was mine. Sarah didn't question it. He took the phone back. He continued studying. But that night, when he got home, he noticed something strange. Photos of her had been sent to unknown numbers. Photos where she was eating, where I was sweaty after the gym, where I was sleeping on the bus. Sarah tracked the numbers. Private group on WhatsApp. Sarah's mockery. 17 people, all friends of Claire, sharing photos of Sarah, making cruel comments, betting how much weight she would gain by the end of the semester. Sarah didn't confront anyone. He didn't cry. He didn't victimize himself. She began to investigate. Back to church. Sarah looked at Claw go on the floor, begging, makeup running, dressed dirty. You're sorry. Sarah repeated her words. You're sorry because you got caught, not because it hurt anyone. She kept walking, but someone blocked his way. It was Madison Foster, one of the girls from the group. Operação Amiga Gorda, emerald green dress, high heels, perfect red hair. Do you think you're better than us? Madison spat out the words. Do you think that because you discovered some dirty secrets that changes who you are, you're still the fat girl nobody wants? Sarah tilted her head. Interesting that you mentioned that, Madison. She picked up her cell phone again, a few taps on the screen. Because while I was investigating the Bennetts, I discovered something about you too. Madison froze. What are you talking about? Your fiancé, Ryan. Sarah paused, savoring the moment. He's not really an investor, is he? Madison's face turned white as a sheet. He is an illegal bookmaker, debts to dangerous people, and you knew that when you accepted his marriage proposal. In fact, Sarah tapped the screen again, you helped him launder money through your clothing store. Madison tried to speak. He didn't make it. I have prints of your conversations, bank transfers, everything documented. Sarah smiled coldly. I haven't handed it over to the authorities yet, but I can do it with one click. You wouldn't do that. Try teasing me again, Sarah said softly, dangerously, and find out. Madison backed away. Then he ran out of the church. Sarah kept walking, but before leaving he turned one last time to the crowd. You all saw what happened here today. They saw the messages. They saw the crimes. They saw the truth. His voice echoed off the walls. And now you have a choice. You can pretend none of this happened, or they can stop allowing people like the Bennett family to treat other human beings like trash. Absolute silence. Sarah left the church. Sunlight hit her face. fresh air, freedom. She pulled out her cell phone and called a number. Mr. Hartman, it is me. It's done. Pause. Yes, sir. All evidence has been presented. The Bennett family will face federal investigation by the end of the week. On the other end of the line, a deep and satisfied voice replied something. Sarah smiled. Thank you, sir. See you at the office Monday. She hung up. But before putting the phone away, he opened another conversation. Robert Chen, investigative journalist, Boston Globe. Sarah, I have a story for you. Corruption, money laundering, discrimination, all documented. Want an exclusive? The answer came within seconds. Robert, OMG, yes. When can we meet? Sarah, tomorrow, corner coffee shop, 8 in the morning. Robert, I'll be there. This will win a Pulitzer. Sarah put away her cell phone. He started walking down the sidewalk. Her flat shoes tapped the concrete in a steady rhythm, but she wasn't going home. I had one last stop to make. Hartman and Associates' office. 1 hour later, Sarah entered the Glass and Steel building in downtown Boston. 23 floors, one of the most prestigious addresses in the city. The security guard at the entrance greeted her with a wave. Good afternoon, Miss Miller, she smiled. Good afternoon, James. Elevator to the 18th floor. Mahogany doors. Thick carpet that muffled any sound of footsteps. The secretary looked up. Sarah, Mr. Hartman is waiting for you. Sarah knocked on the door. A deep voice replied, Come in. Jonathan Hartman was 62 years old. Gray hair, gold-rimmed glasses, $3,000 suit. He had built that firm from the ground up 30 years ago and was now one of the most feared and respected lawyers on the East Coast. He looked at Sarah and smiled. You really did it. I did what had to be done. Hartman got up and walked to the window overlooking the city. You know, when you came to me 3 weeks ago with this investigation, I thought you were crazy. I thought he was seeking personal revenge and that this would tarnish his reputation. Sarah waited. She knew there was more. But you didn't seek revenge. You sought justice. He turned to face her. And he did it impeccably. Ethics, professional, all evidence collected legally, all voluntary witnesses, no false steps. He returned to the table. He took an envelope. The Bennett family will try to sue you. They will hire the best lawyers in the country. They will try to destroy your life. Sarah swallowed. I know, but they won't make it. Hartman handed her the envelope. Because from today onwards, you are no longer an intern. She is a full associate lawyer at this firm, with salary, benefits, and our entire legal structure to protect you from any retaliation. Sarah opened the envelope. Contract, 6-figure salary, bonus, complete health plan. Tear images rose to her eyes. Mr. Hartman, you deserve it, Sarah. Not because of what you did today, but because of who you are. He smiled. Lawyers like you are rare, intelligent, ethical, courageous, and I would be stupid to let you get away. Sarah signed the contract with shaking hands. When he left the office an hour later, the sun was setting, orange and pink painting the Boston sky. She stopped in front of the building. He closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. For the first time in 6 months, she felt free, but his cell phone vibrated. Message from unknown number. You're going to regret this. I'm going to destroy your life. I'm going to ruin your career. You don't know who you're messing with. Sarah read the message. Then he typed a simple response. Try. And deleted the number. Because what that person didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that Sarah had one last trick up her sleeve. Information that would change everything. And she was about to throw that card on the table. The game was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. 2 weeks later, the Boston Globe headline ran the entire page. Bennett Empire calls up. Federal investigation reveals money laundering scheme and systematic discrimination. Below, a photo. Claire Bennett leaving a federal courthouse, hiding her face behind an expensive purse. Beside her, her father, handcuffed. Sarah was sitting in a small cafe near the office. The same cafe where he had met Claire a year ago. Ironic. She drank green tea, read the newspaper. A small smile was allowed. His cell phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Miller? Female voice. Young. Nervous. My name is Jessica. I was Mr. Bennett's secretary. I saw what you did. Sarah waited. I want to testify. Against him. Against them all. The voice shook. He fired me when he found out I was pregnant. He said that fat, pregnant women scare off customers. I have emails. Recordings all. Sarah closed the newspaper. Do you have a lawyer? I can't afford one. It is not necessary. I work for you now. Pro bono. Sarah paused. Let's destroy him, Jessica. On the other end of the line, the girl cried, not out of sadness, of relief. Federal court. Boston. 3 days later, the room was packed. Journalists. Cameras. The judge, a 70-year-old man with a stern expression, banged his gavel. Order! Sarah was sitting at the prosecution table. Simple black suit. Hair tied up. Leather folder open in front of her. On the other side, the Bennett family. 3 very expensive lawyers. Italian suits. confident expressions. Their lead lawyer stood up, Martin Ashford, 60 years, perfectly combed white hair. He had defended politicians, celebrities, billionaires. I had never lost an important case. Your Honor, Ashford began, voice smooth as silk, the accusation is based on questionably obtained evidence from a resentful intern who had personal motives against my client. Sarah didn't react. He continued looking ahead. Miss Miller, Ashford continued, turning to Sarah with a condescending smile, has been socially rejected, humiliated, and instead of accepting his position, he decided to invent crimes to destroy a respectable family. The judge looked at Sarah. Does the defense have anything to say? Sarah stood up, slowly, every movement calculated. Your Honor, I would like to call my first witness. Proceed. I'm calling Mr. Robert Mitchell, former employee of Bennett Hotel Corporation. A man in his 40s entered, bald, glasses, hands shaking slightly. Sarah approached. Mr. Mitchell, you worked as financial manager for Bennett Hotels for how many years? 12 years. And which operations were you responsible for? International transfers, offshore accounts, subsidiaries abroad. Ashford stood up. Objection. Mr. Mitchell was fired for incompetence. Your credibility is... I was fired. Mitchell interrupted, voice firm now, because I refused to sign false documents. The hall erupted in murmurs. The judge banged the gavel. Sarah picked up a document. Your Honor, I present Exhibit A, emails from Mr. Gerald Bennett ordering Mr. Mitchell to create shell companies in the Cayman Islands to hide undeclared income. She handed copies to the judge, for defense lawyers, for journalists. Ashford leafed through the papers. His face lost color. Sarah continued. I also present Evidence B, contract signed personally by Mr. Bennett with European investors known to have links with criminal organizations. More documents, more murmurs. And Evidence C, Sarah paused, savoring the moment. Wire transfers totaling $43 million in unpaid taxes over the last 5 years. Gerald Bennett stood up. This is a lie. The judge hit the gavel violently. Teely. Order! Mr. Bennett, sit down, or you will be removed. Sarah turned to him. His eyes were sharp blades. It's not a lie. It's mathematics, and math doesn't lie. She returned to the table. He took another envelope. But we're not just here for tax fraud. His voice echoed throughout the room. We are here because the Bennett family systematically discriminated, humiliated, and destroyed the lives of people they considered inferior. Objection, Ashford shouted. This is not relevant to the case of tax fraud. It's relevant, Sarah replied calmly, because it demonstrates a pattern of behavior, a pattern of believing they are above the law, above human decency. The judge leaned forward. Proceed, Miss Miller. Sarah called the next witness, Jessica, the pregnant secretary fired. Then another. A Latina chambermaid who was called Lazy Fat by Claire and fired without warning. Then another. A black chef who was prevented from being promoted because Gerald Bennett said that rich clients prefer white chefs. One after another. 7 witnesses. All with similar stories. All with documented evidence. Ashford tried to discredit each one, but Sarah had anticipated his every move, every objection, every strategy. Finally, she called her last witness. I'm calling Mrs. Claire Bennett. The hall was completely silent. Claire stood up, too thin now. The last few weeks had drained the life out of her. Deep, dark circles, dull hair, hands shaking. She sat in the witness chair. I avoided looking at Sarah. Miss Bennett, Sarah began, her voice soft now, almost gentle. We were friends, weren't we? Claire looked down. Yes. You invited me to be your maid of honor. Yes. Why? Silence. Miss Bennett, answer the question. Claire looked up. Tears flowed. Because you made me look better. Explain. Because you were, Claire couldn't say it. Fat, Sarah completed the sentence. I'm fat, and you used me as an accessory to make yourself look prettier in comparison. Claire sobbed. I'm very sorry. Did you maintain a message group called Operación Amiga Gorda? Yes. You took photos of me without permission and shared them with 17 people so they could laugh at me? Yes. Did you tell your fiancé that I made you look like a goddess? Claire didn't respond, he just cried. Sarah turned to the judge. No more questions. Ashford tried to ask recovery questions, but it was too late. The damage was done. The judge retired to deliberate. 2 hours later, he returned. After reviewing the evidence presented, this court determines that there is a substantial basis to prosecute Gerald Bennett for tax fraud, money laundering, and labor law violations. He paused. The defendant will remain in custody until the full trial, Gerald Bennett shouted. Security guards held him back. In addition, the judge continued, I order a federal investigation into all operations of the Bennett Hotel Corporation and possible dissolution of the company. Claire collapsed. Thomas, who was in the audience, got up and left. He didn't look back. Sarah picked up her folder. He started saving the documents. Ashford approached. You just destroyed an entire family. Sarah looked at him. No, I just turned on the light. They destroyed themselves. She left the courtroom. Camera flashes. Microphones in the face. Miss Miller, how do you feel? What do you have to say to the Bennett family? Did you expect this result? Sarah stopped. He looked directly at the cameras. I have a message for all the people who have ever been humiliated because of their body, their origin, their race, their gender. His voice was firm. You are no less. You have never been less. What about the people who try to destroy you? They always fall. Always. She walked to the street. The sun was setting, golden and warm. His cell phone rang. Mr. Hartman. Sarah, you were brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, sir. Rest tonight. Tomorrow we have work. 3 new customers called, all victims of discrimination. Everyone wants you as a lawyer. Sarah smiled. I'll be there. She hung up. He continued walking. And for the first time in a year, Sarah Miller didn't feel fat, ugly, or inferior. She felt powerful because she had learned the most important truth in the world. The best revenge is not anger. It's success. And she was just getting started. 6 months later, Sarah's office was on the 19th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Mahogany table. Bookshelf full of law books. And on the wall, framed, the Boston Globe article that changed everything. She was sitting, reviewing contracts, prescription glasses resting on the nose, pen in hand, concentrated. The door opened. Mr. Hartman entered without knocking. Sarah, we have a visitor. She looked up. Visit? Come with me. They went down to the conference room. Inside, waiting, was a woman of about 50, plus size, short gray hair, red eyes from crying. Miss Miller, the woman said, standing up quickly. My name is Patricia Moreno. I saw what you did. I read about you in the newspapers and I need your help. Sarah pulled up a chair. Sit down. Tell me. Patricia took a deep breath. I worked at a technology company for 15 years. I've always been good at what I do. Senior programmer. Promoted 3 times. But last year I gained weight after a health problem. And everything changed. She took a tissue from her bag and dried her eyes. My boss started making comments. You should go to the gym instead of lunch. Clients prefer programmers who look professional. And then they fired me. They said it was cost-cutting, but they hired a thinner replacement the following week. Sarah picked up a pen. Do you have evidence? Emails, messages, witnesses. Patricia opened a folder, and I discovered that I wasn't the only one. In the last 3 years, they have fired 7 plus-size female employees, all replaced by thinner people. Sarah leafed through the documents. His eyes sparkled. It wasn't greed. It was fire. Patricia, how much do you want to earn from them? I don't want money. The woman looked directly at Sarah. I want justice. I want them to admit what they did. I want them to change. I want other women not to suffer what I suffered. Sarah smiled. Then you've come to the right place. 3 months later, Court Sarah was in front of the jury. Navy blue suit, hair down now, natural waves falling to her shoulders, light makeup, confident posture. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, she began, her voice clear and firm. This case is not just about Mrs. Moreno. It's about all the people who have ever been judged, not by their competence, but by their body. She turned to the defense table. The company's CEO was there. Expensive suit, arrogant expression. The defendant believes that appearance is more important than ability. He believes he can destroy careers based on prejudice, and he believes he will get away with it. Sarah picked up a document. But he's wrong. She presented emails, testimonials, statistics, irrefutable evidence of systematic discrimination. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Verdict, guilty, compensation, $2.5 million for Patricia. More mandatory changes to company hiring policies. Patricia hugged Sarah, crying, You gave me back my dignity. Sarah squeezed her back. You always had dignity. I just made them see that. Sarah's office. Night. Sarah was alone. City lit up below. Comfortable silence. His cell phone vibrated. Message from unknown number. She hesitated. Then it opened. It was a photo. Claire Bennett. No longer the perfect, arrogant girl. Too thin. Sunken eyes. Working as a waitress in a cheap restaurant. Below the photo, a message. You were right. I was horrible. I destroyed my own life. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. You taught me that actions have consequences. Thank you. Sarah looked at the photo for a long time. He felt no joy at Claire's fall. He didn't feel angry. He felt nothing but a strange peace. She typed a simple reply. I hope you find your way. Then he deleted the number, because Sarah had learned something important. Revenge wasn't about destroying other people. It was about not letting them destroy you. 6 months later, Boston University of Law. Sarah was in front of 200 students. Crowded auditorium, low lights, projector showing her name, Sarah Miller, lawyer specialized in civil rights and discrimination. She looked at the audience, young faces, hopeful, pay attention. When I came to this college 5 years ago, Sarah began, I believed that if I worked hard enough, I would be respected, that my achievements would speak louder than my body. She paused. I was wrong. Some students shifted uncomfortably, because no matter how hard you work, there will always be people who judge you by your appearance first, because of your weight, because of your race, because of your gender, because of its origin. Sarah walked across the stage. And you have two choices. You can let this destroy you, or you can use it as fuel. She stopped in the center, lights reflecting in her eyes. I chose fuel, and today, I lead a team of 12 lawyers specializing in discrimination cases. We have won 23 cases in the last 18 months. We have recovered over $15 million in compensation for victims, and we changed hiring policies at 47 companies. Applause echoed throughout the auditorium. Sarah raised her hand, asking for silence. But do you know what is more important than all that? She looked directly at a plus-size girl in the third row, who had tears in her eyes. It's proving to myself and to all the people who have ever been humiliated that we are not defined by what others think of us. We are defined by what we do with the pain they cause us. The girl in the third row smiled through her tears. Sarah concluded, so if you learn one thing today, let it be this. The best revenge is not to destroy your enemies. It's building a life so bright that its light overshadows all the darkness they tried to throw at you. The auditorium erupted in applause. Students standing, teachers nodding approval. Cafe near the college. 1 hour later, Sarah was sitting alone, the same cafe where he met Claire 2 years ago. A girl approached shyly, plus size, 19 years, heavy backpack on the back. Miss Miller? The voice trembled. Sorry to bother you, I was at the lecture, and I just wanted to say thank you. Sarah smiled. For what? For existing. The girl wiped her tears. I entered law school this year, and it's been horrible. People look at me like I don't belong here. They make comments, they laugh, and I was thinking about giving up. Sarah took her hand. Don't give up. But it's so difficult. I know. Sarah shook her hand. Believe me, I know. But you know what's hardest? Living the rest of your life wondering who you could have been if you hadn't given up. The girl sobbed. Do you think I can do it? Sarah looked into her eyes. I don't think so. I know. Because I was once you, sitting in that same cafe, crying, wanting to give up. And look where I am now. The girl dried her tears. Thanks. What is your name? Amanda. Sarah took a business card out of her purse. Call me when you graduate, Amanda. There is always room in my office for struggling lawyers. Amanda took the card like it was gold, smiled, and for the first time in months, she believed she could do it. Sarah's office. Night. Sarah was at the window. City view. Lights shining like stars. Mr. Hartman entered, thinking about something. The day I walked down that aisle, Sarah smiled, when everyone laughed at me, and you changed everything. No. Sarah turned to him. They thought they were laughing at the fat, pathetic girl, but they were laughing at the lawyer who was going to destroy an empire of corruption. Hartman smiled. Their underestimation was the biggest mistake they made, and the greatest luck of my life. Sarah looked back at the city. Because it gave me motivation to never ever let anyone make me feel small again. Hartman placed his hand on her shoulder. You're not little, Sarah. You are giant. He left. Sarah was alone at the window, and in that moment, she thought of all the people who had ever humiliated her. Claire, Gerald Bennett, Madison, Thomas, all the strangers who laughed at her in church, and he felt gratitude, because without their cruelty, she would never have discovered her strength. Without the pain, she would never have found her purpose. Without the humiliation, she would never have become who she was today. Sarah Miller, 30 years, lawyer specializing in civil rights, team leader, speaker, and most importantly, survivor who became a warrior. She looked at her reflection in the window, and for the first time in his life, he liked what he saw. Not because I had lost weight, not because it looked different, but because he finally saw his own greatness. Ours, dear, the best revenge is never about destroying those who hurt you. It's about building a life so incredible that they become irrelevant. And Sarah Miller had built an empire on the ashes of humiliation, because in the end, people who try to bring you down only reveal how afraid they are of your potential. And when do you turn that pain into power? You become unstoppable. Or, if you like this story of overcoming injustice, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next inspiring stories. Your registration makes all the difference.